We are chatting today with Jess Movold. Jess, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here. It's great to be here with you guys.
I've been following you for a really long time, Jess, and it was only recently, though, that a mutual friend sent an email to introduce us, and then like a week later, we happened to be on the same panel with New Balance in Boston.
I mean, didn't we run into her like 20 times?
Yeah.
After that?
Yeah, it was
I'm going to throw a little shout out to my girl, Jamie Christ,
Yeah, Jamie Christ.
who we all love. Who doesn't love? Have you met anybody who doesn't love Jamie?
Not a single person. She's such a mover and shaker and like cheerleader for others and like a connector of great people. And she's just awesome.
I mean, that's kind of why we like running, is that if it's done right, we're all kind of cheering each other on and celebrating each other's wins. And, you know, kind of like it's boring if you were just by yourself doing this.
Yeah. Yes, that's so true.
So, Jess, give us your title and your roles right now.
All right, so I'm Jess Movold. I am the Runner's World Run coach and a strength coach at the Fort, running their remote programs. I'm an athlete, and I am now a mom.
You're out in Austin, Texas.
Yes.
So how did that move come about? Because for the longest time I was following you were in New York.
Exactly. So in 2020, when New York seemed, the whole world was on fire, and we were in August, and my sister, so honestly, well, I'll back up a little bit. My dad lives in Dallas, and he was moving in June, and I wanted to help him, so I kind of broke the rules of travel and just said, listen, I'm taking a chance here. My dad needs me. So I flew down to Dallas, and the flight costs $15. My sister,
wow.
I know. And so I just bought a one-way because I'm like, well, I'll just decide when I want to come back. So my sister drove from Austin. She was living in Austin and still does, to help me. And we moved my dad in. This is a side story, but we went to Target. We Pimp My Ride version of Pimp His House. Like, he went to do some errands and then he came back, turned the key, and it was just done. Nice. And he lives alone, and it just meant the world to him. But then she's like, hey, I have a 3-hour drive. Why don't you keep me company? So I said, okay, I'll look at flights from Austin. So we're driving to Austin, and I stayed a few days, and I ended up staying a few more days, and then it was 4th of July. I was like, well, I'll stay for 4th of July. And Kyle's like, what's going on? Are you coming back? And I was like, yeah. So then I flew back, and then I was raving about change of lifestyle. It just felt like it was a break from New York. All of our gyms were closed, so we weren't able to go to work anyway, other than
And Texas is crazy.
It's crazy. Texas is crazy. But providing, remote content. So I said, hey, why don't we just go back to Austin for a month and we'll just Airbnb a place? So somebody took our place in New York. We went to Austin for the month of August, and we loved it. We felt like we could breathe. There was more of a connection to nature. We started running on the trail. So ever since that day, Kyle immediately was like laying the groundwork in his mind to make the move to Austin. I liked the idea, but change is pretty tough for me. So I was like, there's no way. Like, we have deep roots here. We'll do that in like 15 years. I was like, absolutely not. We're going to do that in like 15 months. So then fast forward, once we found out we were expecting a baby, then we're like, okay, like that's kind of the time. So we actually had a lease signed ready for April of 2022. And then battle came early. So we waited about another 6 months before we officially came down here. So
you say you're afraid of change.
I know.
I don't think you know yourself.
I know. Well, I start to I get to the edge, and then I sit there for a while, and I think about it, and I maybe overthink about it. But
and Kyle pushes you.
Yeah, exactly. He loves change. We are already moving to a different unit because he's like.
I'm guessing Kyle is your husband, just for the record.
Yes,
okay.
Kyle's my husband, and we've only been in this home for a year, and he's now found something else. So now we're moving. But it does make more sense. It's cheaper and bigger in the same building. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you were there. You were there in August in Austin, and that's when you fell in love. That seems like a real hot time down there.
Yeah, I love the heat. I can train in hot, humid, sweaty days. I love it. I don't mind the heat at all. Now with the baby, it's harder because I don't know if I've just lost touch with that, but I will take training in August in Austin over training in New York in January every single time.
Oh wow.
I'm with you on that one. Yeah. The cold sucks.
I don't know. I get tired of the cold, but I do also for running. I think it's just so great to be able to like. My paces go way down when it's 30.
Yeah, that's true.
I just like it.
But back to like getting out the door is really hard for me when it's cold. Once I'm out there, this is great. You're warmed up, you're doing it, it's no big deal. But I sit and like procrastinate way longer when it's cold than.
So has your tight collection gone way down?
I have so many of them, and they're in a box in my closet, and I need to do something about them. But no, I still have them all. Thinking about maybe I'll, need them one day, and I know I probably won't, but they're still.
And by the time you'll just want new ones anyway.
Exactly.
So you got into being a running coach.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, how did running happen?
Yeah.
Right.
When did that even start?
All right.
All
So
right. Megan's taking it all the way back.
Fast rewinding. I was going to say fast forwarding. Rewinding back to my dad was always and still is a motivator, a natural encourager, someone just positive and, was my first source of encouragement and coaching and, wisdom. And he built himself a little treadmill gym underneath our bedroom. I shared a room with my sister at the time. And around 5 a.m. every day, it was like pounding and singing and blasting. First, it would be all the Bob Seger's favorites. And then he would like put on like church music and sing that really loud and just like tell himself, like pump himself up, like this is going to be a great day. And I'm like, what's he talking to? And then it's around like 7 and he comes up and starts waking us up. And so my first memories of him are just like motivating. And he'd also sit before that and read Runner's World. And it was always laying around and, sipping on his coffee and then going into his run. And my older sister fell into his footsteps of going for runs. And this was in Missouri at the time. And it was a really perfect neighborhood to run and, see your little friends and neighbors. And there was a lake. So it was this like 1 mile loop around a lake. Perfect. And I, being the middle child, would see that. I'm like, no, I'm not going to like fall right into that. So I went fast, short, hard, fast, and found track. They were doing long loops around the lake, and I would sprint from like the street sign to our mailbox and just like blow them out of the water. But I could not continue if they, took the race any further. So I got into track, and that was really my connection to the sport. And it was hard, short, fast efforts, 3 p.m. track practice, nights on the track and weekends. And then after that was middle school and high school. It didn't go college. It wasn't like groundbreaking fast or anything, but it was fast for me in our small town. Got into college and I just wasn't a runner anymore until I moved to New York for an internship in 2008. And I was living in NYU dorms down on Canal Street. It was just the summer, so we're living in this weird dorm room with no TV, nothing to do. And so I just started running. Started exploring because I wanted to know where I was going. And then I would go back home and I would memorize the streets. I just wanted to kind of figure out the grid that is New York City. And I would just pay attention to every turn. And then I'd get home and on GMAP pedometer, I'd map it out and be like, oh, wow, 3 miles. And I'll never forget the day that I decided to run. Everybody talked about the Brooklyn Bridge. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll do that. It was a downpour day that day, and nobody was on the Brooklyn Bridge. Like, I really mean that, in the summer. No one was on there. There was probably lightning too, which is probably the reason why people weren't out there. But I remember just me and this guy. I think he was probably like in his 60s. And I was determined because I started down very close to the bridge and I wanted to do a long run. I didn't know what a long run was at the time. My soul was craving to be gone for a while. And it was like this beautiful connection to running because I didn't wake up saying, hey, it's Saturday, I'm going to do my long run. It was like, I want to go far. So I went over the bridge, the rain started, came back. This guy was like, do you want a running buddy? And I was like, kind of creeped out, but like, yeah, sure. He was probably like 55 or 60, gray hair, but white singlet. And like, I see this person coming towards me. I'm like, what is that red? Like bloody nipples, like just
Nice.
red on both sides. And I was like, what is going on? But we ran together. Then we went up the West Side Highway and he took off and I kind of finished my run, and he was an architect for hotels, which was cool. But when I came back and mapped that out, I said, wow, I just ran 16 miles. So it was in that summer of 2008 that I realized that I was a runner. And I know that's a funny thing to kind of recognize doing high mileage like that, but in it now when I'm a coach and people are like, I'm not a runner, but I have a half marathon this weekend. And it's like, I understand where that thought comes from, because we see, winners of races and people making it the profession. And we're like, well, I'm not that, but I do like these, little personal challenges. So I really try to help people shake that, because I had that at one point. I'm not a runner, but I'm coming home and racing to the computer to map out my distance and feel proud about myself. So it was a really cool connection to running. And then moved to New York officially in 2009. And then I got into the fashion industry, and that was a crazy lifestyle that really didn't leave a lot of time for running at all. So kind of fell back into not running at all until 2015. And I didn't not run at all, but I didn't identify as a runner first. Even though I knew it was like in my soul, I just didn't have any time and space for it, because I was the executive assistant to a fashion person, and my life was just chasing them and like really
So was this at what was that movie? The Devil Wears Prada? Was this the situation?
Oh yeah, but beyond, like way more than that. The movie looks like like I literally had to go to a steakhouse at 7 a.m, and like that was attached to a hotel. I was like, I know you might be able to make a steak. Like, come on, I think you can do it. And like I wasn't like begging people, but they felt bad for me. They're like, how do we help this poor girl? It was like that. It was like, delivering a goldfish at 2 a.m. So it was there on the counter for Mother's Day the next day. Really, yeah. I also got to travel the world and meet really incredible people. And I'll never forget when one of she's an incredible woman and businesswoman, and she was working for Tory Burch at the time, and she came in for a presentation that we were pitching for a fragrance with Patrick de Marchelier and this whole thing. And she had this like, designer bag and all of these things. And I saw like peeking out were a pair of Brooks shoes. And I was like, and I was the executive assistant. It wasn't like my meeting where these are my connections, but I was like, are you going running after this? Or did you go before this? Or like, I see your running shoes. And it just and she like was caught off guard, and she's like, I was going to try to go after this, but now my son, like she was like caught off guard, but excited to like have that conversation. And I'll never forget that, because it brought life back to my skin. I felt like I probably was like white and pale and like really unhappy. And then I saw the running shoes, and I was like, oh my gosh, like we're right by the West Side Highway. It's a beautiful day. You should try to make it happen. Like 30 minutes at least. She's like, yeah, you're right. Okay. So eventually,
your first coaching assignment.
Yeah. So I started to get back out there, and I didn't officially become a run coach until 2016. I actually have a funny story.
That moment of seeing the shoes is what got you back into running?
No, but it reminded me of my own interests and my own passions and myself. It like I felt like I was just kind of dead on the inside, and it was this moment of like, those things matter to you. That it just brought like a spark to my soul.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that. It's funny you say that, because we were just talking on one of our previous podcasts. I was saying how when I used to go into meetings, I would look for either road IDs or GPS watches, because I knew that was my person in the meeting. I was like, I'm going to talk to that guy.
Exactly.
Or that woman.
Yeah.
Because, as soon as you see that, you're like, okay.
Yeah. So
we'll
you're
have
a
something
runner.
in common.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a people person. I really crave those connections. And I did have a high profile position in that company, being the right hand to the founder. But it wasn't my world. It wasn't my passion. And so when I saw people come in with a Garmin or a watch, that tracked the data, it was fun. It was fun to kind of like, just, can I go for a run later? And they're like, what? Yeah, maybe. But I did start I had a friend that I started writing training plans for, and this was just a total, obviously I know the distance, and I'm like, oh, she really wanted to train for New York City Marathon. I don't know if she actually she didn't end up running it, but I wrote this big training plan, and I like wrote on this calendar, and I wrote 26.1 time to crush it. And I emailed it to her. I was so proud of this calendar and like all of the days and like the workouts and the easy runs and the rest days. And she's like, this is awesome. What about the last 0.1? I was like, oh my God. We still laugh about that.
Did she buy you one of those bumper stickers for your car?
No.
Okay.
No.
Those were very popular a while back.
I know. Yeah, no, I won't be a bumper sticker girl, but I will never forget that I wrote a 26.1 marathon training plan.
Yeah, well, I mean, at that point, you're there. I mean, everybody knows.
It could be like my secrets, like my target, my marketing, like, oh, well, what is, it's the secret magic. That's the sprinkle. That's the extra.
Well, also, everybody always knows it's never going to be 26.2
Never.
perfect. It's going to be 26.4, 26.5.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when did you transition from the fashion world into making coaching like your full time? Yeah.
So I started out at the Fort, which is where I met my husband, Kyle. It's his gym, and I came across it in early 2016. They had just been open a few months, and someone was like, I think you would really thrive in this space. And I tried it out. I loved it. It was awesome. But it was out of my budget, and Kyle said, hey, I could tell that this is really important to you. He made this up on the fly. I'll give you the student discount, but you have to come every single day. And the only time I could get there, I had to be at work by 7:30 was the first.
Wait, was this a trick
is this
so that he gets
dating?
to see you every day?
No, we were both in other relationships. Like he was genuinely helping me, and I honestly like our relationship started off with a really strong friendship for years before we kind of one day realized like, oh, I think that we like each other. But he just could see it. He could see that I was kind of desperate to feel my own personal strength. And that's exactly what happened. My first workout there, I experienced the barbell, and I was, it was like a small gym setting to where I felt I could be vulnerable and like express like I haven't done much barbell work, or I didn't know how to trap bar deadlift or any of those things. And I felt like there was an environment where it was okay to learn and be vulnerable. And it just made me feel super strong, and I'd leave feeling confident and mentally better about myself. And I noticed how my personality, or not my personality, but my demeanor at work shifted. I was like sitting up a little taller. I was standing up for myself a little bit more. My presence was bigger. And so that started to slowly trickle into the rest of my life, where I thought, I don't want to do this job anymore. And then I started realizing how much my day was better from being at the gym. And I was thinking like, I want to do this for other people. I want other people to feel their strength personally, mentally, physically. And so I went and got like certifications, all my, personal training certs. And then I became the towel girl intern. So I was juggling a lot at this point. I got a nanny position to kind of help. Because again, like the change, I knew I was craving it, but it was hard for me. So I was like, and I was really integrated in the position that I had, which I appreciated. I felt really respected, or maybe not respected, but like important for the machine to keep running. And so it's easy to stay complacent when you're in a role that needs you and you don't want to have those hard conversations. But then I was like, no, let's start lining things up. So I became a nanny for Gigi. And Gigi actually, her aunt is
Gigi Hadid?
No,
I don't even know how to say her name.
Her parents, her dad Dave was sister to Christine Burke with New York Roadrunner. So now she's got a really sweet place in my heart, because I was a nanny to her 5-month-old niece. But that kind of helped me recognize that, okay, you can do this. Like financially, it might be scary, but like, let's branch out and make this change. So I was a nanny for a few hours, and then I was an intern at the gym, and I learned it is such a good opportunity to to do that if you can, because I absorbed so much that has made me the coach that I am today just by being in those environments with people that know more than you. And I learned how to be a confident coach. I learned how to work with people. And so that's kind of where it all started. And then I went to work at Mile High Run Club in New York. So I was like a certified run coach officially and leading running classes at the studio. And that's where Runner's World picked me up. And
we'll time out real quick because not everybody knows what Mile High is.
Yes,
so
sorry.
I'm just going to interrupt and say, it's a treadmill gym, right? It's like, so you go there. Can you kind of explain what a class is like at Mile High?
Yeah, totally. So there's what we call the High 45, which is a 45-minute class and easy warm up, intervals on the treadmill. I don't think it's equivalent to like a Soul Cycle on the treadmill, but you have your own machine. The lights kind of change colors and the music goes with the vibe and the intensity matches the effort. And it was a chance.
So like a spin class, but on a treadmill?
Yeah. And there's a microphone so you get to coach. And if you find a coach that really works for you, I loved it. I loved working there. It was so fun to have a chance to demonstrate your personal coaching style and express yourself through music and let people kind of learn that. And you see people coming back and then you have them come in and say, I just ran this race over the weekend. And you're on their list of people to thank because, you know, you got them out of bed in the morning and got them to that race and help them feel confident in their paces or learn how to pace. So that was, and I was there for up until the pandemic. So at that point
were you like, do you build those classes? You figure out exactly how they're structured. You pick the music. You do everything.
Yes. Which can seem intimidating, but it's also once you learn your coaching style there. And I was so like my first class was on my birthday in 2017, and my sister. There were 3 people there. It was 8 a.m. on Sunday, which was in the summer. Literally three people were there, including my sister. And I'm glad because I just fumbled all over the microphone and like you turn up a song too loud and everyone's like ugh, and then the mic, all of the flaws that happen. But you get better. It's just like running. You're like, oh, I made it down the block. I can't ever do this. And now I think through all of the classes that were just like such an epic success where you're like, you know, I found this really cool version of AC/DC Thunderstruck that would always be like kind of one of my like known closers where it's like, all right. And in the studio, they kind of braided themselves to where there's 4 levels. Level 1, warm up. Level 2, marathon pace. Level 3, half marathon. Level 4 is like, let's go. So, you know, those 30-second sprints. So that part was so rewarding for me. But that's Mile High in a nutshell. You know, you curate an interval-based class. You kind of show your coaching skills and knowledge by not making every effort a max out, and you teach people that intervals don't have to be scary. And I think that was really rewarding for me because people would assume track work or speed work as like max sprints. And actually it might just be a 4-minute hold with some rolling hills at like 75% intensity. And people are like, oh, I can do this. I am a runner. So yeah, that was
absolutely. I think when you come into running, one of the first things that like at first you just want to be able to run. So you're like, you make it up to 3 miles and you're not stopping or anything. You're like, oh, great. Then you make it up to 6. And then I remember somebody saying, well, are you doing any speed work? And I was like, what?
Yeah. And I think people jump the gun sometimes. I think they want to be a runner, but then they are starting off with really fast efforts. So they're like, I've tried, we had a NICU nurse and her name was Kat. She's so awesome. She's like, Jess, you've inspired me. You've been here for so long. You talk about running. You come in sweaty. I tried running. It's impossible. And so, you know, when people, she's like, I just couldn't do it. I was like, you're going too hard. You're running too fast. Slow down. And like, I can't go any slower. So we actually did a loop around the hospital, the NICU floor. And I was like, I'm going to show you the pace that I want you to do on your next run. And we went on this like really nice, comfortable jog around. And she's like, oh, I could do this. I'm like, this is exactly what you should be doing. This is your running. And do this for a while. And she ran a 5K and she absolutely loved it. And then she signed up for another one to maybe improve her time.
That's crazy. Yeah, once you sign up for one, you're done.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope.
But then I think we were also talking about that you were coaching at Mile High, and then that's where Runner's World found you. So how did that work? They just like show up one day and they're like, hey.
This woman should be doing all the coaching for Runner's World.
So the fitness director, Molly, came and emailed me, and it was such a cool email to get. I was blown away. I was like, how did they find me? Like, where did I, I just was so shocked that I had popped up on anybody major's like radar. So then there was a little bit of application process, put some answers to how would you coach this person, how would you respond to these questions, and a little back and forth, and then I became the Runner's World Run Coach.
So what does that mean? Like, who are you coaching when you're under Runner's World?
Yeah, so our members, our Runner's World Plus members, so pretty much after the paywall, there's training plans, we have our own community chat board, we have a close friends group on the Runner's World Coach Instagram page, which gets a lot of DMs and, training questions, and then we have opportunities to meet up. Like in Boston, we did a coffee and a little bit of, it's so nice to connect with people, to connect with runners, because, being a coach for runners, for anyone, it's so amazing to connect with people that you might not otherwise have anything in common with, but we all know what it's like to lace up and shake off a bad day, or to cross the finish line for the first time, or to break a barrier that you never thought was possible. And that's this unspoken language and feeling, and it's universal, and it's so powerful. And that's my absolute favorite thing about being a coach in general, is to help people discover that magic or to celebrate it. And it's just like amazing.
I mean, it is a goofy thing. I always try to figure out or put my finger on why running becomes such a passion in your life. It's a really simple act. It's like you don't see people having walking groups. I guess maybe you do, but there's something about the pushing yourself and finding kind of like new levels of, it's almost like a puzzle that never gets finished. But I have yet to figure out what it is, the magic of what makes running special and why we want to congregate and do it in a group.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, there are walking groups. There's actually this stroller group, and I have 100% of respect and love for that. And Kyle was like,
I just don't have a stroller.
We could get you one. I borrow. But Kyle came home one day and he's like, I saw all these strollers and they met up and went on a walk, and I think you would love it. And I got so mad at him. I was like, I don't want anything to do with that. Like, it's awesome. It's great. I think I regret my reaction to him about that, because it's great. It's connection. It's people coming together, but it's not running. It's not the magic of running. It's not this. I read a study about how people feel more comfortable when they're next to someone as opposed to forward conversation, and I think that's so true in those runs where you're just in that steady state of movement. You're out of your like overthinking zone, and you're starting to experience those endorphins of the run, and it's so beautiful. Those conversations are amazing. You can think through ideas. Even solo runs are also great, but the power of a group and running together, it's like you bond. You go through this, whether it's 30-minute shakeout or 2-hour long run, you go through this thing together that then we both store in our mind and in our heart of like this experience. And it's different than just sitting and having coffee.
Yeah, I think that you're also getting a natural high. And when you run with a group, you might pick up the pace a little bit because it doesn't seem as hard when you're with a group as sometimes it does solo. And when you talk about the memory, I do feel like it bonds you, like sharing sweat with people.
Yeah.
You finish those runs in that group and you're like, these are my people. This is what we do. This is what we love doing. We're a tribe.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. And so sharing sweat.
Knowing that your dad was reading Runner's World every morning, how jacked up was he when he found out that you were the Runner's World coach?
Oh my gosh, so jacked up. Still is my biggest fan. I paid for his membership, so he gets all of the magazines, and he calls me and he gives me feedback. And it always starts with like, "You're so awesome. This is so cool." I still, have to pinch myself that my daughter is contributing to these magazines and a photo of you. And then he loves to still be my coach. So there's like, hey, and for even during my Boston cycle, I was doing like long runs, and he was just kind of hearing about my long run. I'm not one of those people to really talk about training if it goes well or goes bad. I like to move on, get it done, focus on the intention to move forward. Didn't really like linger on each specific workout. So he never heard speed days or quality sessions or, any type of workouts. And he's like, hey, I'm seeing these long runs. I know you're doing your LSD, but you got to get to the track. Where are your speed workouts? What about your speed? I just need you to really focus on that. I was like, okay, yeah, I do those on Tuesdays. Okay. Like, so he still loves to be my biggest coach, and he'll read something and like add his value. And, so he's still so stoked.
So he must have been pumped that you got a new PR recently in Boston.
Oh, he's so pumped. The texts I get from him, he's a texter that it's like he's sitting down to write a letter. And so he'll write like, Dear Jessie Girl, he calls me Jessie Girls, capital J, capital G, one word, comma, space, and then he really puts time into his messages, and getting them is such a treat. And there's all the punctuation there, and then like a sign off and his like famous words that he always uses. So yeah, he was super pumped. He sent me multiple texts. When you finish a marathon, it's exciting. You want to go back to your phone, but you also just need that moment to like hobble to somewhere and like have a second to sit and be like, did that just happen? So I hadn't, had the energy to return the calls and texts yet, but he was like the very first one to shoot text messages and a FaceTime attempt, and I finally showered.
FaceTime attempt.
I answered the third call. I'm like, I'm alive. I'm here. So
I love it.
That's great.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about Boston, because like we said, you just PR'd 3:12, which is amazing on that course, especially so hard. So talk to us a little bit about your training. This was your first race postpartum.
Yep.
Are you self-coached?
No. So big shout out to John Ranieri, sweetheart of a guy. He's been my coach for a few years now, and he, was there for me during pregnancy and postpartum. And of course, we took a break, and I called him and I was like, hey, November of 2022, I was like, let's rip, let's do this. And we had a coaching call, and John is very, straightforward, and he is a warm and fuzzy person if you know him, but he's not a warm and fuzzy person also. Yeah, there wasn't like, oh, Jess, like, let's, we're going to have this epic. And he was like, I said, listen, I really want to crush it. I'm coming back. I think like Boston's going to be great. And, we'll still do things like moving forward. And he was very like straightforward. He's like, okay, great. Well, I just want to have very straightforward, not monotone, but I want to have reasonable expectations as we go into this, and just plan accordingly and know that we're going to give it our all. But, it might not be a PR moment. It's going to be a great race, a great experience. And that's what I think we should go for. And I was like, okay, yeah. But
that's my coach in a nutshell too.
Yeah. Managing my expectations, which is good. Oh yeah. Is she tough? Is she tough?
She's like, matter of fact, she's a robot. I'm talking about Megan here because Jess saw me point at Megan. She's a robot. Like, here's your training. Well, did you give it the effort you were supposed to give it? Yeah, I gave it the effort. Then what's it matter what the paces were? It's about effort.
Yeah, and I think like that matter-of-fact type of coaching is really important. There's not like sugar and sprinkles on it, and I think like that's the opportunity for me and you, Tom, as the runner, to bring that like sprinkle to your own training. And and John, if you're listening, you probably won't be listening, but like I love him, and I was bummed after that call. I was like, oh, And I was like, I'm still going to do this. Like, I'm still going to crush this. And I called my dad. I was like, I feel like my coach doesn't know if I can do it, but I just want it to be like awesome and epic. And regardless of the time, I want to really have a great training cycle. And so my training, one of the things that actually also was a big part of it was that group accountability, like you talked about. I was running faster. I found a group that meets right down the street from where we live. And I just committed to it. We did 5:15 long runs, 5:30 easy runs, and that just became my new normal, and it worked for our family. And I just went through the effort and I really crushed my training. And it was so incredible to be back to a training regimen. I'm the queen of fun running. I'll talk about how people should celebrate a PR and then go into fun run season where you can run when you want to and run how far you want to and just have that like fluid running for joy type of season. And I was in that for so long that I forgot how rewarding it feels to be in a focused training cycle. And so I never came home from a single workout being like, that sucked, because I felt so happy to be in that training block, And
this gives me two questions though.
Okay, let's hear number one.
Okay, first off, I'm going to mention that Megan does sugarcoat it for some people that she worked with. She just won't do it for me. Oh. Two, I'm going to say, okay, so you're a coach, and that's a style that maybe he was using to motivate you. Maybe he knew that if he downplayed it, that Jess would be like, I'm in this, I'm going to go kick some butt, and that maybe him having kind of reservations might actually fuel you to push yourself, and he didn't need to do it.
I didn't think about that.
And I'm wondering, you as a coach, how much, now I know that you can't be an individual coach to everybody that you're working with, because, just the format of how you at Runner's World coach, you got thousands and thousands. Mm-hmm. But when you are on a one-to-one, how much of that coaching do you take into effect, like the psychology of the actual person you're working with, learning them and knowing them and being able to push their buttons?
Yeah, I think I probably do that subconsciously as I get to know the runner and the athlete and what motivates them, and kind of when you need to have those hard conversations that people don't necessarily expect from me, because I'm like, the awesome job, you did it, way to go. But then I have the other side where there's reason and limits and stepping back, and even like hearing things that they don't necessarily want to hear. And I hope that has that effect. I'm not sure how it affects their psyche, but I hope that it does have that same impact on where you're right. I think there was a moment where, because in previous marathons with John, and I think part of the reason why I loved this cycle so much is that I didn't realize it at the time in 2021, where I was doing Chicago and New York, but I was burnt out of my training lifestyle. I was burnt out on everything from where I was running and training to the checking the app every day. I'm like, what am I doing today? And I think he knew that I needed a reset button. And I've always started off, okay, it's Chicago 2021. We're going to crush it. We're going to PR. And it was the worst day ever. And then it was like, okay, now it's New York and we're just going to have a fun run. And that was
80 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah. Chicago 2021 was just like the worst. And so I think he was excited for me to just have a good training block. And I think that's what that message was back then in October when we had that call. And funny enough, that's exactly what I did. I had a good training block. And then if everything aligns and everything comes together, and on race day, that great training block can have a runway to be seen. And I think that was the magic of Boston.
Okay, so in Austin, are there hills?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Austin
the
course is
I'm just used to
hilly.
Lady Bird Lake or whatever it's called, and that's flat as pancakes.
Exactly. 100%. And I didn't, when I was running on my own, before I was fortunate enough to find this group and run with these people, I was just doing loops on the lake. And I was like, this is cool. And then I started running with these people, and oh my God, every single workout, there's one called Mount Bunnell, and they're like, oh, what's the course today? Like, oh, we're going up the mountain. And I had a workout that day, and I actually had to just kind of make a judgment call and kind of push that to the side and go easy on the way up. And this group, when they do this route, they go easy out and fast back, which makes sense because it's a progression run. You come down this mountain. My elevation that day was 1,400 feet, and my workout was supposed to be 90 seconds on, 90 seconds off. And I pushed it a few miles, so that workout started on the way back, but like it was just the pace was just, you're falling down a hill. And so yeah, there's lots of hills here, and that was really helpful in my training because honestly I did not mind the hills at all in Boston, and that felt really cool.
So you have this amazing training block. We saw you race morning before we all started. You seemed like you were in a great mood, but I honestly don't think I've ever seen you not like the happiest person in the world. Is this just this is Jess? Jess is always upbeat. Are you ever like, I'm tired?
Yeah, I am. But I'm still upbeat. What's that movie where they're like, but upbeat? I'm drawing a blank. Probably not making any sense trying to recall that line, but I was actually a little nervous because I was booked to take these like Duke's bus, which worked out really well with my kind of new running team, and they've always seen me as upbeat Jess, and not that I was nervous, but I like to conserve energy in the morning of the race, and although I'm not great at it, when I see you all I'm like, yeah, let's go, and I was really pumped. But on the bus I had every expectation of myself to just go inward and conserve energy, and I left my phone at the hotel so I couldn't be like, hey, I'm tuning out with the earbud, like it's always the message of like, don't talk to me type of thing. But that was when I saw you all eating breakfast, and I just went like inward, and I was having small conversations, with the people, but really practiced not being that Jess in the morning of and going inward. And that was how the rest of my morning went, and the rest of my day, with the race. That's also my favorite way to race, is really conserve. And then you see photos of me where I'm like, yeah, but actually inside I'm like robot, like really different than what it seems like. And I'm also an introvert, which doesn't come across, but I'm always, and I do events and I see people, and then I leave feeling like, they don't.
Megan knows that.
Yeah,
I'm the same way.
Oh my gosh, like I love race weekends, but they are so much, and the events and the people and the New York City Marathon. For me, I was like, I actually had I think a whole week this time of being kind of down. I know there are marathon blues and stuff, but I just like needed to stare at a wall for a week. Like I didn't want to text anyone back. I didn't want anyone to text me.
Wait.
Decline all the FaceTimes. Like, I can't do this, people.
You're bringing up an interesting thing, though. I've heard you say New York a few times now. So you ran it last year when it was miserable.
So I've actually run New York, and I meant to count, so I had this number for you, but we'll count together. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21. So I've run New York 8 times.
Okay, so you didn't run it in 22.
No, I didn't, because Kyle wanted to run it. So
Kyle picked the wrong year.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, I was sweating just pushing a stroller. So I'm really glad that I already had that experience. That was my 2021 Chicago. Yeah. So I didn't need that again. And, I've done a lot of New York, so I've had years that it's similar, but I didn't need to have that.
But it sounds like you're probably going to run New York in 2023.
Yeah, I think I'm going to run New York in 2023 and with some really cool people, and I think it's going to be epic.
Okay, wait, before you move on to that, I want to hear about the actual race. So you start running. Is this one of those days where like everything clicks, you're feeling good, you never hit the pain cave, or was this like, I'm struggling?
I am so incredibly proud, and we already talked about my training block, but I am so proud of my race execution and how I stayed calm, and it was a perfect day. I crushed that race, and I wouldn't change a single thing. Let's just make that clear. But you do start to wonder and think, and I'm like, did I feel too good for too long? And I will say this. and I'm so grateful for this PR, and I know I worked hard and it felt great, but this is also the first time, finally, minus Berlin 2019 maybe, but this is the first marathon to where I get to that 20-mile mark and realize I have room to strategize. It has always been me going out. I think this was in 2018, but I hit the previous PR, I hit my half marathon PR at the half. And it is a matter of just like climbing and crawling and scratching and walking and like forcing yourself to finish it off. I also like panically, this is funny, I panically messaged Megan about nutrition like Thursday through Instagram. I was like, hey, so if someone like needed a last minute, race day consultation with you, what would you say to that person? She
hates that.
Oh, I know. And she goes, well, tell your client they're not alone in last minute planning, but I want to help everyone and anyone that I can. So have them find me at the expo. And I like did the emoji of this. I was like, okay, it's me. And she's like, oh my God, okay, I'll find time for you. And so like I book her for an hour on Friday just to have confirmation in my plan. And it was the things I've been doing, but it was just so comforting to have her like stamp of approval on it to make a plan that I felt so dialed in on and then I stuck to. Other years it's like, oh, let's try Morton on the course. Let's try this. And I really found my secret sauce of what works. And, the goo is like, works. I'm a goo girl. The sodium works really good for me. And so I stayed really calm. I felt really good. The rain was kind of epic. I didn't mind it, but it also made the course really slippery for me. And like, I started having these thoughts. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to slip and I'm going to like break my leg. And I'm like,
oh no.
What are you doing? Why are you thinking these thoughts? But the paint was really slippery.
The paint was, you could not run on that.
Unless you were wearing the Adidas Pro 3, which the Continental Grip really did an amazing job on all the surfaces in Boston.
Yeah, I was in my endorphins and the paint was really slippery. And then I don't know what mile it was, but then the railroad tracks and the uneven crevices and stuff. So I
say that's running, like 20.
22.
Yeah. I was running 22 pretty cautiously, which felt appropriate, but I felt myself wanting to run faster. And then on Sunday, I decided that I wanted to PR the race course by an hour. And I made a post about this. I'm trying not to repeat myself. But on Sunday, I realized, I was like, hey, you know what? I want to crush this race by an hour. I haven't been back to Boston since 2012. Let's just do it. And I thought that at the time, my time was 4:16. So I'm like, I can do a 3:16. I got this. I looked it up Sunday afternoon, and it was 4:13. I'm like, 4:13 means like also a race PR, because my PR at the time was 3:13. And I didn't let that really be a thought in the race. I knew that I was looking for a certain pace and gear to stay comfortable in, and it was really exciting when what that feeling I was looking for was syncing up with 720s, because I would have stayed at that gear if it was 740s or 735s or 750s. I would have said, hey, this is your limit, this is where you are. But it was really exciting, and every time like I hit a split and I'm like, oh, that was 721. Oh, that also was 721. Wow, that was 721 again. Like, I am crushing it. So I worked really hard to not let that overexcite me or get into my head. But when I passed mile 23. And I think everyone has strategies that works for them, but I'm not someone that should have those splits to get to the goal. Like, if I get to the goal and it worked out magically, that's awesome. But those like really technical numbers just work against me. And so I got to mile 23 and I look at my watch and it was two something, obviously. And then I was like, okay, I'm not going to do any of this math until I get to mile 24. Because me and numbers and math, it just doesn't line up. It's a good way to pass the time, but it wasn't useful thinking. So I was like, when you have 2 miles left, when you get to mile 24, look down and we can decide what kind of moves we want to make. So I looked down at mile 24, and my watch said 2:58. I was like, okay, 2:58. If I'm hitting 7-minute miles, and then it hit me, I was like, you're going to get to the finish at 3:14 and you're going to be pissed. So I was like, let's go. And that was so exciting. But I had to do a lot of weaving. You know, I was kind of like, you have to make this happen. Because for a while I was running with the pace that was kind of moving along with me, you know, settled in, and it felt comfortable, felt good. And that's when I realized, like, hey, you have 2 miles left. You can absolutely do this. You feel great. You feel good. I mean, it wasn't like a fresh start of a run.
And it's like, slightly downhill.
Yeah.
Like, so it's time to go.
Wait, so what were your last 2 mile splits?
Like 6:54 and 6:52.
Dang.
Yeah. I was like, it's time to go right now. And I like, it was this really cool feeling of like, okay, pretend you have to be somewhere and you're late. Like, relax, settle in, and let's do it. And it was almost like those 24 other miles just disappeared, and I needed to be somewhere at this certain time, and I needed to make it happen. I needed to get around the people that I needed to get around and go. And it was so fun. I felt like I was in like a Mario Kart moment where I was like, get there. And I remember
throwing turtle shells at people.
Yeah. And I got onto that straight stretch Boylston, and I was like, this is long. And I just started like pushing the pace, and I knew that it'd be long. I listened to many people talk about like, you're going to turn left, but it's still going to feel like forever. And so I like didn't let myself feel like that. I was like, yeah, you're just in this like weird virtual reality where the race never comes, or the finish never comes, but you're just like running. And I don't know. Something about that last 2 miles was so empowering and epic for me, which then, and this is where you have to really like celebrate your victories and not.
I know what's happening.
Yep. You don't want like greed to take over, because then I'm like, well, I could have gone, like, I could have done that like at mile 12. And obviously, like, I
feel like that's a trap.
It's such a trap. It's a
That is why we sign up for another marathon.
Right.
And then we run it horribly.
Right. And that's my biggest fear. I was like, you cannot like get cocky in this. Like, be really grateful in this. It was the day. It was my mindset. It was the fact that I had the last year in the NICU and never got to run, or I did get to run. I won't say that, but it wasn't fit. It wasn't speaking to me the way it had been in that training block. So I think that, yeah, there's always an opportunity to do better, but I'm really living in the gratitude of what I did that day. And that's why I really made it clear when I started the story that I wouldn't have changed a single thing. Yeah. I am proud of the effort. I'm proud. Also, I had to pee at mile 3, and I went the rest of the race trying to decide what bathroom break I was going to go for. And then at 24, I was like, you're not going to the bathroom. You're going to go. You're going to finish.
And then it just disappeared.
Yeah, it somehow disappeared. And I was so proud of that. I was like, that's awesome. And again, like, it wasn't like a clear, I just want to also say, like, if you have a reason to stop, do it. But mine, I wasn't sure if it was like the nervous pee or that. So until it like made itself very obvious for me, I wasn't going to just tinkle for like the nerves.
Yeah.
But
real quick, because you mentioned a couple times now, you mentioned the NICU. So you just became a mother.
Yep.
And did you have a premature?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So Battle was born 3 months early. His due date was July 6th of 2022. And he ended up surprising us on April 1st of 2022. Wow. So, yeah.
How big was he? Was he like the dollar bill size?
Yeah, pretty much. He was 1 pound and 13 ounces.
So, I only want to bring this up because, you know, all of us say, oh, fitting in workouts is tough, fitting in your jogs, your runs. I can't imagine. Okay, so you've moved. You have a job. Mm-hmm. You just now have what you thought was going to be a pregnancy going through. And I would think that I've never had a premature birth or anything, but I would think it's very stressful because it's not the safest place for the baby to be. And you're probably hanging on by a wire trying to figure out what's going to happen with your child. these are all stretches that are going on while you were training for the marathon. I'm going to guess that maybe running helped alleviate some stress, but also became a stressor to find time to do it yourself. And I'll let you give me the answer there.
So I didn't put any pressures on training while he was in the NICU. So we left the NICU in September. And so after that, I still was like, run when you want to, loose. I think I needed structure. I think I can remember craving structure, but I didn't want to put myself through I also knew that Boston was going to be on my horizon. So I was like, well, you don't want to overtrain, so let's just stay in fun run season until closer towards the end of the year. And that felt so good. When I made the decision to prioritize my training consistently, we found a time that worked for our family. It was so cool to like put all of that energy and effort and like strength into myself, because we were in the hospital for 167 days, and it was all about battle. And as we wanted it, that was our choice. We didn't want to miss a single thing. But
you say choice, but is it really a choice at that point? It's like
no, it wasn't our choice to be in the hospital, but it was our choice to be there and be with him. That's where he was going to be, so that's where we were going to be. We had to actively practice what we coach, and that's taking care of yourself and making time for yourself, and still focusing on nutrition and getting to the gym. And those did make the days like you feel good after a run, you feel good after a strength workout, and that would always like pick my day up and make us feel stronger and connected to who we are. And it was just our new normal, and we didn't feel sorry for ourselves. There were hard moments where we were like, man, it'd just be so great to like be at home with our baby and not here in the hospital. But the people at the hospital, the NICU, they became our family. They're incredible people. It's so cool. I started the race, or I was heading to the corral with a woman who's here in Austin, but I don't know her that well. And she is talking about work's been stressful, and she's in the medical profession. And I said, oh, what do you do? She's like, I'm a NICU nurse. And it caught me so off guard. It like brought tears to my eyes, and just like my heart swelled. I was like, oh, I love you guys. And it was just like really beautiful. And so, we can't be more grateful for the path that we ended up having, because he had a course that was just great. Some people like have shorter stints in the hospital, but his was his journey, and he is so amazing and healthy and full of life.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, what is the like? I guess what you're really worried about is the safety of the womb. He no longer had, so he probably had to be basically very coddled to grow and gain weight and to go through the stages. But now it's like totally normal.
Oh yeah. So yeah, the first few stages were like really scary. Nothing mattered outside of our little like bubble we had in our life at the time. They're in an isolette. You can't put your hand in, you can't touch them. We finally got to hold battle like 11 days after he was born, and he was on oxygen support. At one point he was on 100% oxygen support.
Oh wow.
Which then creates a lot of eye problems and eye concerns. So, one thing to save his life is kind of affecting another thing. So it's a really long seesaw, yo-yo, roller coaster ride. But you can see that he loves people, because he had so many people caring for him that he just loves anyone who's smiling at him and, gives him love. And I think it's kind of a part of his personality and his story. And he is definitely like determined and strong, and so it's really cool seeing just like...
Yeah, I guess you're an introvert, but he's probably, since birth, had 20, 30 people around him all the time.
Yeah, and Kyle's not an introvert, so I think like he has moments of, he's definitely a Kyle in that sense, but then you could see him, and like I think I'm pretty emotionally intelligent about others, and he has that. It's really cool to see him like... when someone's having a tough day, he'll like he feels it. He like really is aware of people's feelings, like a
interesting
big human.
I love it. And his name is Battle.
Yeah. Battle.
Great name.
You can come say hi. So yeah, so that was Boston though. It was, and there was a moment when we kind of looked at flights and prices and rooms and everything. I was like, oh, we'll do it as a family, and I'm so glad I didn't do that. I'm so glad that I went and they stayed and kept it their routine, and it was like a solo mission I needed for myself.
See, and we were talking about this because you can get labeled selfish for anything you do. You don't want kids, you're selfish. You do want kids, you're selfish. You want to be a stay-at-home mom, you're selfish. People are just jumping to label you as selfish. And I feel like maybe selfish isn't the worst thing to start off with in a balance. Because I do feel like, you went through a traumatic experience. Whether you came through it with a positive attitude or not doesn't matter. It's still a focus of your life for a period of time that's stressful. And you go off and you do something for yourself, but you come back stronger and better and more present for your family. So tell me, is that selfish, or is that just taking care of yourself and your mental health and being there for your family?
Yeah, well, you just answered that question yourself with your second line. But the people who think it's get a life, and that sounds harsh and cruel, but they are going to rip apart anything, whether you don't take care of yourself or you do, to the shoes that you wear, or you don't, and the people it's really unfortunate that people put any amount of energy to judge and criticize others for anything, because this is we don't know what people are going through. We don't know what people are battling or what they need for survival, and to criticize anybody is just unfortunate, because I think we all need community and support and the uplifting effect that can happen. But second of all, okay, so the counter argument to being selfish and leaving Battle in his safe home with his happy routine, with his normal feed time, with his normal nap time. Right. So if I pulled him out of that environment and I put him in 2 different hotels, which is what I did, washing the bottles in the sink of a hotel that aren't sterilized, ripping away his nap times and hoping he's cool with a nap in the stroller, having him out there cheer for me during a rainstorm,
freezing.
It's what's actually selfish in that,
I also think it's people get upset when they make a choice that they can't escape from. So say that you decided to have children, and you see a woman or a family, a man can make this choice as well, that they decide they don't want kids. You could be, oh, that's selfish, because somewhere deep inside you, you're like, oh, I remember the days of when I didn't have the responsibilities of being a parent and how carefree they were. So you're not maybe mad at them. You might be mad at yourself for the choices that you've made.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's just so silly. Let people live. Let them live.
But do you feel that you have that, because you have to be somewhat in the public eye as a coach and a premier, runner's world coach. Do you feel ever that you're judged, or you get DMs that don't make you feel good or something like that, or is it pretty positive all the way around?
I used to really worry about what people thought, but I don't really experience that. I'm sure people have things to say, it's just that's how it goes. The more eyes are on you, the more things
the bigger the audience
to rip you apart and say that you're not doing, or they could celebrate you, and people choose one or the other. You'll have half your people celebrating you and just showing you support, and then other people saying how you could have done better or didn't do enough. And so I don't really get DMs. I get most of my DMs that I get that are from strangers are actually from moms that have had NICU journeys, and how much I've helped them, because we really showed Battle's journey, and it brings me to tears every time. It's recently a woman said that she had been in and out of many different NICUs and a really hard course and a really hard time, and she saw that I am a runner, and she's like, you really inspired me to take care of myself. So I think like for anything that you're doing, if you're going full in and you believe in that, what you're doing with your heart, and it's bringing you joy and it's bringing other people joy, you have to just magnify that, and then you have to kind of just quiet the other side of it. And the
it's kind of like marathon racing. Like you said, your negative thoughts came up about slipping and breaking your leg because you were wearing the endorphins.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, but it's at sometimes negative thoughts or negative things come up during a run that you have to, in effort to get to your finish line, you have to change the dialogue inside your head. And so what I'm hearing you saying is that while there may be negative people out there or comments and stuff, you choose to focus on the positive stuff and the ways that you're helping people, and that's how you get past that.
Right. I think if I'm doing something wrong, or something that's hurting something, or something that's closed-minded and could be opened up to a broader lens for support and encouragement or inclusivity, I think that's positive feedback. I think that's useful, constructive feedback to grow and to continue to like be as helpful as I can. But then if it's someone saying that, running a marathon with my son at home is selfish, which I've not gotten, no one has said that, then I just have to say, okay, I'm sorry you feel that way. Thank you for your life. I don't know.
Enjoy your tacos.
Yeah. Because running does make me a better person. So I am better to my family, to myself, to my colleagues, to my friends, to my athletes. And I hope that can be a source of inspiration to others. And, the people that sit and feel like, oh, they should have kids. What are they doing with their life going to all these marathons? It's like, chill.
Yeah. So to bring it to a lighter subject, you now live in Austin.
Yep.
I've been there a couple times because we go there for the running event.
Well, you didn't call me, actually.
Well, now
we didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Would have been come knocking on your door.
Yeah,
like, let's hang
I was
out.
like, who wants to hang out with me? Jess Movold. I'll call her.
I was like,
and Kyle.
Somebody's gonna say, let's go running. Someone's gonna say, let's go get barbecue. Nobody.
Well, no. This is my question for you. You've been there long enough now that you probably have a favorite taco spot. Because I will tell you, I just go to Torchy's because it's close.
The one?
It's close to the convention center.
Yeah, I do. I went through a phase where I was like, Torchy's, they probably are like Taco Bell. Like, there's got to be something better. I judged them. I all the things I was just saying about judging people, I did that. I was like, they look like fast food. And then I tried them, and oh my gosh, their Migas taco I will get at any time of the day. It's absolutely my favorite. During my training, I would get, after long runs, I would get 2 Migas tacos and 1 fried avocado, because by the time I'm finally eating...
wow, I never had the fried avocado.
Yeah, my dad got me onto that. He's trying to have less meat, so he got onto the fried avocado. And I don't know if I like it because he likes it or if it's actually good, but...
So it's a fried avocado taco.
Yeah, it's a fried avocado taco, but it's the sauce that comes with it that is, you have to have. That's what makes it. It's like poblano ranch.
So is Torchy's the best, or have you found something that you like even better?
So I can't do this whole foodie scene. There's tons. There's overwhelming amount. Veracruz tacos are comparable, but I went there and I was expecting 5-10 minutes for your foil wrap tacos. I know they make them on the spot. It was a 45-minute wait, and that's when I was like, this is silly.
Yeah, tacos are fast food.
Yeah, it's right. And so there's this place called Suarte, which is fancy Mexican.
Is that where we went?
We might have gone there.
Yeah, it's like a cool vibe. It's definitely like a treat type of dinner. Like, it's expensive.
Little white building.
Yeah, some looks like Art Deco-y with really
There's like a garden near the bathroom.
Yeah, maybe. Minimal wooden tables, and they pride themselves on their Oaxaca menu and all that stuff.
That's probably it. Yeah.
Fancy. And I don't need fancy. I'm not that fancy.
That's why Torchy's is great.
Yeah. I love a restaurant that's not overly crowded, and you get a really great cocktail, and you can, treat yourself.
All right, so this December when we go out for the running event.
We better see you.
Yeah.
We better get tacos.
Yeah, we have to hang out. I will talk to Darcy because I feel like we should all do a Take the Bridge run again, and like we should race it. We should run it. I can scope out the course and get all those like fast cutoffs and try to like strategize, right?
Oh yeah, insider information.
All right, I'll just have a beer and jog around.
Yeah, we can do that. And I live right above the trail.
Oh, perfect.
And Megan Featherston and I might actually be making a trip there this summer, so I'll keep you posted if we do.
It's hot girl summer, and yeah, so you'd fit right in.
Yeah.
If you don't come over to go to the pool and have a margarita, I might be really sad. So budget that.
We'll do that.
Will it be? 100%. Can it be on social media? Because like she can't do anything that's not going to be on social media.
Absolutely,
promote everything.
Yeah. I will pick out the little like umbrellas for the cocktails, and
amazing.
We can do like a whole like reel.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely.
Right. As long as you guys hydrate, it'll be all good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any schedule dates, but just putting it out there, on June 8th, there's the Maudie's Margarita 5K. This is not an ad by any means, but it's an evening 5K.
All right, put this date. She's going to put the date in her phone.
I literally have a call in 7 minutes to talk about this.
All right. So before that 7 minutes is up, we should mention
it's a Thursday.
That Jess is definitely going to be hanging out with us soon.
Yes.
A lot.
Yeah.
Jess is on our team, our trained NYC team, and we're kicking it off in Brooklyn.
We need to kind of explain because we have two parts to the team. There's the team that is not getting picked, like they got picked.
There's our team of 10, and then we're picking
five
additional people from applications.
Oh, fun!
So you skipped the application process and got right on the team.
Cool.
It's kind of like a draft pick. So so we got Jess Movold, and she's coming on, and we're gonna train to NYC. First stop is the Brooklyn Half, which is May.
A few weeks away.
Yeah.
Yeah, unlike the New York City Marathon, which I have like a whole resume long list of experiences, I think I've only done this one 2 or 3 times, so I'm pretty pumped.
This will be our first.
It looks really fun. It's like fast, and you end at the beach, right?
It's really fun. It could be very hot. So
hot dogs and beer.
We're going to talk to Megan a lot about hydrating.
Okay.
But the hard part for me is Ocean Parkway because it is just a very long straight stretch, and you just have the alphabet. So I would just stare at the signs A, E. They're very far away, but it's awesome. We're gonna finish with the beer
and hot dog.
Hot dog, yeah. Actually, I'm gonna do the cheese fries. Hot dogs freak me out.
They freak me out too. Thank you.
Not gonna do a hot dog.
A Coney Island hot dog.
It's like, and at Falmouth, I know you've done Falmouth, and all they have is hot dogs, and I'm like, and then I just drink 47 Trulies.
Wait, did you do Falmouth when we did Falmouth?
I've done Falmouth in 2018 and then in 2021.
Were we in 2021?
New Balance.
Yeah, we would have had to have been, right?
It was New Balance, and then
it was New Balance. Then we came with ASICS, so it would have been 2022.
2021.
No, it was 2021.
Yeah, in 2018 I did it with the New Balance. They had this sweet house literally right at the finish where that whole big grass field is, and they catered like the most lobster rolls you've ever seen.
Oh my god! With
these fun like Truly type of drinks. I don't know if it was Truly, but I think that was the only time I've had it, like a sparkling seltzer thing, hard seltzer. But it was so good. Oh, it was so fun. Right. Yeah.
All right, so there's that, and then we're doing the Fifth Avenue Mile.
Oh!
And then New York City Marathon.
Oh!
Did you know you were doing the Fifth Avenue Mile?
No, let's go. Let's go.
I know.
Actually, registration opens today.
Well, you've got a registration. So.
You're good.
To all those runners out there.
Yeah.
No, but
by the time they hear this, it will already have been open.
Yeah, it's open, guys. Yeah, let's go. Okay, well, I did run Fifth Ave Mile after Wild Battle was still in the NICU last year. And so it was fun.
Well, it was funny because there was somebody out in Los Angeles who's a celebrity that I wanted to come join us. And they would have, like, I don't care if we had a full roster, New Balance would definitely pull this person. And I'm like, well, if you don't want to do the marathon, you could do the half, or you could do the Fifth Avenue Mile, which is only a mile.
Right.
And they were like, why aren't you guys doing anything out here in Los Angeles? Like, it's the New York Roadrunners.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Bummer. Well, I have to say it might be their loss, unfortunately.
For sure.
It will be. This party is going to be pretty good.
All right. Thanks again, Jess. And yeah, we'll see you soon.
All right. See you guys in Brooklyn.